Chapter 19. Mason. "Do you want to tell me why I'm taking you to this appointment and not one of the trainers?" Duke asked as they entered the doctor's office. Mason sighed. He had made the decision last night after Clara left that he was going to find a way to distance himself from her. It was obvious her feelings didn't match his, and having her come by every day would just be torture. "Clara is the athletic trainer they assigned me to." "And? I thought you liked Clara." Duke's eyebrows arched in question. Mason checked in with the receptionist before answering. "Yeah, I thought things would be okay. But then last night she was at my house and we kind of had a moment." He sat down in a chair close to the door. "A moment? What exactly is a moment? I'm afraid I'm going to need a little more information to understand this sudden change of yours." Mason ran a hand across his neck. "We kissed. It was probably stupid, but she had this smile, and she looked at me like she wanted me to kiss her. You know that look when a woman's eyes focus on your lips?" Duke chuckled. "Yeah, I know the look. So what happened?" Mason shook his head. "Her father called, and suddenly she was different. Stiffer. She wouldn't even tell him she was with me." Duke had met Clara's dad a few times, and Mason had often shared his suspicions of her father's influence, so he was confident Duke understood what that meant. "Did you ask her about it?" Mason fixed him with a pointed stare. "Of course I did, but she said she didn't actually lie to him. She just didn't volunteer the information. I asked her if her father was the reason we broke up, and she denied it." He paused and blew out a frustrated breath. "I just know he had something to do with it." Duke folded one arm across his chest and propped his chin up with the other. "I know her father wasn't easy on you, but I think you might be making a bit of a jump there. Maybe there's just something going on with her father that you don't know about. Like the fact that he doesn't like me for whatever reason and wants to keep us apart?" The sarcasm dripped from Mason's voice. "Or maybe something else. Look, people withdraw for all sorts of reasons. You remember how sad Dad got when Grandpa died?" Mason remembered. He had been 10 when their grandfather had been killed. Their father had picked them up from school and burst into tears as soon as they got into the car. It had taken nearly 10 minutes for him to get the story out, and then Mason and Duke had joined in with the waterworks. What had been odd was that the grandfather had been their mother's father, and she had barely seemed sad at all, at least until a month later when she had completely lost it during a church service. "Okay, but no one died." "That you know of? How long has it been since you and Clara really talked?" Mason opened his mouth to respond, but realized Duke was right. They hadn't talked about her family, or much of the past 6 years. "Maybe you're right," he said with a sigh. "But until I know for sure, it just seems safer for my heart to not be too close to her." "Unless she's the right woman," Duke said. "Then doing whatever it takes is worth it. If you don't, you might be pushing away the one woman who can heal your heart." Mason didn't get a chance to respond as he was called back for his appointment. "The cast looks good," the doctor said after examining his ankle. "You'll still want to stay off it for a few more days, but we'll get you fitted for a walking boot so you can start putting pressure on it." The doctor at the hospital said 4 to 8 weeks of recovery time. Is that about right? "I would say that's a fair estimate. We'll leave the cast on for a week and then have you come back. We'll run another scan to see if it's healing, and if it is, then we can start physical therapy." Mason nodded. It wasn't what he'd hoped to hear, but it was what he'd expected. He didn't bother to ask for a new scooter, as the one Clara had brought him appeared to be working fine. With his new boot on and adjusted, he headed back out to Duke, who'd waited in the reception area. "All good?" Duke asked as he approached. "For now. Follow up in 5 days. Mason patted his shirt pocket, which held his release papers and all the instructions for care for the next few days. Duke nodded. "All right, back home then?" Mason checked his watch. More than likely, Clara had already come and gone, But what if she'd stuck around to wait for his return? Duke's words still tumbled through his mind, but he needed more time to process them. Actually, can we just drive around for a bit? Maybe grab some lunch? Duke shook his head and chuckled. You're gonna have to face her again sooner or later. I know, but I'm settling for later right now. All right, let's grab some food, and then maybe we can work on a plan to get her back. If that's what you want.